Temptations, rum and raisins. That's a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Is there rum in it?
That's a good question, I hope.
That sounds like it would be good together, rum and raisins. I don't like I would never want rum on the rocks unless it's tremendous. That's the thing about liquor, is that it's like the really top shelf of any of these liquors is something that you can refine a palate for. And I really think that anyone who likes the taste of fine liqueur can enjoy a fine scotch. But you have to tell yourself before you sip it that, hold on, try to focus on that there are people who dedicate so much of their lives to stuff with the I don't know the jargon, but the stuff with the type of wood that it's in and the way it's made and the things that what this is precious to someone. So just when it hits your lips and it's like, oh, what the fuck is that? Just like just shut the fuck up for a second and just let it. There are something I don't like the taste of rum, and I can't even imagine a quality rum. Actually, what am I talking about? And like Jaeger is so gross.
Okay, it's not that bad. Yeah. Is
there rum in it though? There's raisins in it, right? You can't call it rum and raisins and not have raisins in it.
Yeah, I feel like rum is there. Is it one of those chocolates I get drunk by the end of the chocolate?
A chocolate bar that makes you. There are chocolate bars that make you psilocybinated and I have been consuming them.
Yeah, how does that work? Like, how does psilocybin bars work?
Powderize the mushrooms and then you stir them up. It's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing to do. And some people are doing it really well. There are artisan psilocybin chocolate bars that are going on in the world. It's amazing. It's amazing what's going on over here with with the decriminalization of psilocybin alone has sprung forth so much goodness and culinary ingenuity. I mean, cannabis and psilocybin, there's so much lovely treats. I mean, there are people who who opine and experience, and I think they're genuine, a sanctity to the psilocybin consumption experience being like that mushroomy, earthy taste. Like, I've heard people say that it's like these little earth chips, and I've heard other people say that it's like you're supposed to taste the earth. I personally, I won't even say disagree. I just refuse. I really don't like the taste of any dried mushroom, like mushrooms, any like gourmet mushrooms. They need to be cooked. If there's like just sliced white mushrooms will be on salad, sometimes I can't stand that. And eating psilocybin. But anyway, the chocolate bars people are making, the treats people are making, the experience of consuming what used to be such a bitter pill to swallow, literally, and it does come in pill forms too, was, oh man, it's in my teeth and I got to brush my teeth afterward. And so I start my consumption. I start my, the ritual, the experience, the trip, or sometimes the ceremony with a moment of fucking, which I don't feel about ayahuasca, by the way. I'm one of the few who, maybe it's just like the batches that I've had, but I'm like, it's tart, it's nice.
I mean, capitalism is booming with all this psilocybin legalization.
Oh, it's happening.
Mm.
Yeah, it's happening, and that goes right into what I'd like to talk about with you today, Sanjana. I'd like to talk about. I just finished reading *Sapiens*. I read like over the course of such a long time. The way I read books is ridiculous. It is the manifestation of what ADHD is. The way I read a long book is do and have to go back, because was I actually reading at that moment, or was I just looking at words as my brain was doing other things? Anyway, I just finished that, and the last few chapters are very really hits you with the thesis, which the thesis is a question, which is like I took Harari as offering a call to action, which is is the future gonna be so fucked? Are we gonna annihilate ourselves? Are we going to create a technological dystopia situation? Are we going to bring forth some sort of utopia? Are we going to alleviate so much human suffering by alleviating human drudgery and like work? Are we going to is this going to go good, or is it going to go bad? And I think it's definitely both. I think both of us would agree on that. Like, there's going to be patches of both. But I just listened to a snippet of, and I haven't heard the whole podcast, of Coleman Hughes, whom I love and highly recommend if you're into the thinky, thoughty, and intellectually articulate. It's Coleman Hughes and Richard Dawkins, and I just listened to a snippet that he posted on the social network platform, which shall not be named. He says, so are we going to have a lot of how difficult is it going to be going in the future that we're not designed, or like objectively, physiologically, a lot of our evolutionary traits are to not be manipulators of reality so much as to survive in a narrow slice of reality, right? That's what we were for the longest time. We weren't trying, and now we're getting close to this place where survivalism is could potentially be, we could be nearing the twilight years of survivalism for human beings. Like, we could accomplish that as a species. We could. And then it's we're still going to be these survival machines, biological fucking we're wired for there to be problems and stuff to run away from. So it's yeah, how much of a difficulty is that going to be? Or can we just, by knowing that, can we circumvent or maybe even integrate how still in the survivalist state we are? Should I rephrase that question? How much do you get what I'm saying? The way he presented it is always, he's the best, one of the best talkers I've ever observed. That we're designed to be surviving in a narrow slice of reality, but we're trying now to be manipulators and gardeners of reality, of our own experience. What's going to happen?
I mean, you were quite correct about technological dystopia and also utopia. I think it's going to be a combination of both, because that's how society kind of thrives. There's always some sort of disruption happening, but there's always some sort of progression also happening from the disruption. It's kind of like how lotus kind of grows within the mud. There's always some sort of disruption happening, but something called progression comes out of that disruption. And something that we something which is coming in the future is definitely technological dystopia, coming out of some sort of utopic ideologies, if you may. But yeah, we're with all the advancements in technology happening, and us becoming more of a technological society, because we're just so infused with the technology, like cybernetics, transhumanism. So definitely, the future that we have is very much integrated with technology, and it's going to have detrimental effects on our physiology, but it's also going to give our socioeconomic structure of society as we know it a boost. So I mean, that's the kind of society I see us living in. Now, if it goes really bad, then we would have technological dystopia to its fullest extent. But I would like to believe that we just still have some sort of stability in the future, that some sort of progression happens, which is good for us, good for a society, because we definitely also have, like we have our ecological concerns. We are keeping all of these things in our minds. I hope, these things are still in our minds in the future. um, and if they are, then it would be just so much more better to have some sort of dystopia happening, because we do have progression at the same time. So that's something that I'm thinking about.
Mm. Wouldn't it make you feel better to have a rational, logical idea of how this could go really well? That's one of the little tangents that I'm on recently. That we need to imagine, like, as a person, this is very clear with a human being, right? If you have when you have a long-term goal, like to create, to set and begin to move towards a long-term goal, it's very important to be specific. And man, Huberman Lab podcast, Andrew Huberman, so great, is that podcast on setting and achieving long-term goals. It's like that, to really objectively look at and to play with your wiring as a creature that is designed to survive in a narrow slice of reality, to know that you will feel fear, and the cortisol is going to be flowing. It's not a bad life that you have, as we say, my anxiety, but you can use the anxiety because you actually have a tank of it. Like you have, and just that has been changing my life. Just the understanding how much it has broken through for me, to know that I can't feel stress all day. I have a tank of it. I got like a video game HUD of like, here's your cortisol for the day. And if I can volunteer to feeling stress and strain, and strenuous exercise is a great way of doing it, but there's so many other ways that I'm finding. If I cold shower and stuff, things like that, if I can sign up for my stress in the beginning of the day, it's like the opposite of being on drugs, like consuming something for a state. It's like I've spilt my endogenous drugs in the morning. I can't feel, I don't have the neurochemical resources to feel too upset about somebody being an asshole at 6 p.m. because at 8 a.m. I was like gushing that out involuntarily. I think is it going to be a dystopia? I totally didn't land the ship of what I was saying there, but is it going to be a dystopia? I think a very, very important factor that I don't want to be too alarmist about, but I think it's entirely appropriate and logical to be alarmist as fuck about right now. But the way that we solve this thing, I don't think is, holy fuck, you guys, we're all going to die. But if we don't, we're like, holy fuck, we're fucked if we don't. But there is an element of emergency. We need to stop with the like military communication. We need to stop communicating with violence in groups. And right now we have the biggest hot war scenario that we've had as a species for a bit. And there are those who worry that Mr. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin it has Napoleonic or dare I say Hitlerian aspirations, and that is yet to be seen. But I understand the worry of that, and it's like, God, we got to nix this. We've got to stop. We got to stop the thing where we're in a arms race to figure out how to best destroy each other with our technology. We got to pivot from that, because if we keep on that way, I don't. How are we going to avoid super Black Mirror-y drone mosquito scenarios, drone swarm, like the things that could end the world? Obviously thermonuclear exchange is like the one that is most obvious, but there's like so many ways that this race, this competition figure out how to best fuck with, inconvenience, because we don't know how much the cyber war is already happening. We know it's happening, but we don't know the depths of it. Maybe there might be so many. Sometimes I think I see social momentums in the United States where I'm like, there's this has to be like a malicious seed that was planted. It's too stupid. It's too bad. It's horrible. I say, and I'm going to give examples. I don't get into it, but anyway, that's the end of that. My tangent right there is like, we got to more than pump the brakes. We need to stop war. We need to stop warring. We need to stop.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the amount of wars that is happening, I think geopolitically speaking, there's going to be a lot of tensions in the Middle East. And now, given the fact that we have Russia Ukraine happening, I think there's going to be a lot of tension happening, and it is going to be overlooked. I mean, people are going to pay attention. Like the Russia Ukraine situation, people are concerned, but at the same time, is NATO interfering? No. Is anyone helping Ukraine apart from monetary help? No. Like, yeah, you're sending all of the military aid and stuff like that, but there's no other country which is effectively coming forward and saying, yeah, we will fight with Ukraine. So everyone's avoiding that. They're overlooking the aspect of actually joining these forces. And fuck, I just realized, I'm so ADHD, that I did not like use my webcam, and that's why I've been using like this thing, and that's why the image is whatever, hilarious. But yeah, people are overlooking tensions. Like when Afghanistan thing happened, a lot of people were concerned, but it was again overlooked. Nothing effectively happened. Russia Ukraine happened. No country would interfere. Like my country India was neutral upon this entire situation, which is like from a business perspective, from a geopolitical relations, international relations perspective, it makes sense. Because the connections of India and Russia are very strong. So, but at the same time, given the situation with Ukraine, we necessarily cannot be like, okay, we're supporting Ukraine because of the relations between India and Russia. So, what I'm trying to say is that in future, what I see happening is that we are going to have all of these in geopolitical tensions, and it's going to be overlooked because no one wants to have a World War III. So everyone's trying to avoid a war at a larger scale, and to do that, it would be it would happen that a lot of tensions would be overlooked. So one example would be a lot of nuclear tests happen with DPRK, with North Korea, and it's always overlooked. Like in March of 2020, when the entire world was shutting down, they did 6 missile tests, the largest that they had done so far, up till 2020, in 1 month, when the entire world was focused on COVID. So that also goes to say that a lot of tensions are going to happen, and it's going to be overlooked by the international community, even though we're going to give it a glance, but we're not going to do effectively anything about it. So yeah, this is going to continue on because no one wants a World War III. And it's hilarious because we're trying so hard to avoid World War III, but at the same time we're kind of moving towards it. Like given the amount of tensions which is just happening, I mean, look at Israel Palestine. Right now it's bad, it's very bad. Like, I mean, it's the month of Ramadan, it's Passover time, and Passover is just ending, and Good Friday and all of these things, and no one is doing anything about
That's not true.
effectively.
That's not true
I
that
mean,
nobody is doing nothing. That's I gotta say it's not true. They're not. You're when you say that is that there are not significant enough to to move the needle in a way that we're not reaching critical masses. But people are doing so many things. There's so many people doing work there, and also there's people helping Ukraine in so many ways other than monetary. I mean, accepting people who are fleeing, that's huge. Sorry, I just highly disagree with the generality of nobody's doing anything. People are doing a lot. Governments are not just failing. That the thing that we're finding out is the governments are in the same way that humans as a creature, we're like surviving in a narrow slice of reality is more of our MO, and that's our mechanism. Like, we are surviving narrow slice of reality machines. Governments of old, unless we fucking significantly transform those, are their game is not to optimize us or these situations, but like the efforts are happening. We just need those efforts to become larger and more significant, and it would really help if governments were less fucking that the bottom line is hard power. We've been thoroughly reminded of that with Russia, Ukraine, that we still are in a situation where, or at least for Russia, at least for like Putin's game is still, but at the end of the day, whoever has the most hard power, they get to decide. And we got to get away from that.
I mean, I agree, but what the okay, so I mean, you're right in the sense that, people are doing a lot of things for Russia-Ukraine situation. I mean, the sanctions are brutal for Russia. But what I mean is that there's no one interfering the Ukraine situation and actually ending the war. So let's say US just agrees with NATO to do something, and NATO just enters and ends the war with Russia. Effectively something happens, like something really happens. Yes, you're hitting them with sanctions. Yes, you're doing all of the monetary aid, and people are concerned. But until and unless the war is stopped, nothing, there's no
But you
actual.
just said why, and that's true of why. We're trying to avoid World War fucking III. Like, and this guy is saying, look, this is a routine missile test of an international ballistic missile that could carry nukes. But also, I mean, it was probably I think it was like, take note of what we're capable of before you make decisions. That's how this shit works. It's a bunch of threats, and it's this huge Mexican standoff. I don't know how internationally understood that phrase is, but it's like, two like cowboys with a fucking with revolvers in their belts, and they're like, if you go for your gun, who knows who's fastest, and we're gonna find out. But like, there's just so much of this right now in the world, in geopolitics. There's so much like, hey, don't do it, Buster. I'll, and we gotta end the standoff, and that I need to get kind of somewhat idealistic and as a person, I think that that's appropriate and necessary to have an imagined path towards not utopia, but at least survival, good, how this could go good. And to me, I think we'll agree on this a lot, that the most potentially significantly helpful route to that, I think, is psychedelics, is particularly psilocybin, ayahuasca, MDMA. And I actually, these days, I think MDMA more so, because psilocybin, ayahuasca, DMT, 5-MeO DMT, those things can be experienced as difficult, as where MDMA just fucking neurochemically blasts one into a state of I mean, you could probably describe the neurochemistry of it better than me, but just this like unconditional and overwhelming love for all that exists and whatever is in front of me. And and I'm not saying put it in the water supply, though that would be great, but I'm not saying that, though I think that would help a lot, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I think that would ultimately, that might save the world. But I'm not saying that. But yeah, MD, to be a world leader, to be the person, to be the commander in chief or whatever you fucking call your person who gets to say what the military does, or at least has the is a puppet to those who actually get to decide what the militaries do, and the mouthpiece. To have people, individuals occupying those roles who have never experienced some of these states that open you up to the possibility that maybe you don't fucking know everything, and maybe there's a possibility for things to go well, and maybe you should try to not fucking end the world with a thermonuclear exchange, I don't think there's anything pie in the sky about that. I think if we are to survive, I think at one point we reach that like an understanding of like, how the fuck are we going to let you have what in the United States is called the football, which I imagine there's a similar thing to the football, a little briefcase with a little button. How are we going to let anyone near that unless there is some way to verify that they have at least have considered that they live on a planet with other people who it might not be best for us to vaporize all of our innocent children and each other. I know there's other ways of achieving that understanding, but through psychedelics, through psychedelics and then like post interviewing the person, we can somewhat verify that you've at least considered that maybe other people exist. Fuckaroo, that's terrible. Ugh. What is that?
I think that was again my iMessage shit. I don't know. I literally quit it, but for some reason it's still coming through.
That fucked me up, man. I thought it was happening. I thought that was it. I thought that was the air raid sirens, and we're about to. Which, by the way, if it happens, that would be very bad. But if it happens, as soon as I know that it's happening, I am going to lean in, pay attention, and if I know. If we have minutes or hours, I'm gonna try to dance. I'm gonna do drugs and dance. But let's avoid that. I'm talking about the end of the world. If I knew, I like the scenario in that movie. I don't like it as I'm like, I would prefer us have another fucking whatever, several millenniums or millions of years. And I do think we make it. I think we make it to not necessarily space travel. I think that I think we figured this out. I have to believe that. I have to be part of the at least creative writing team for how we figured this out. But there was a movie that was quite controversial, and people had very mixed opinions about this Netflix original called what the fuck is it called? Look Up. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, the heavy right-wing flappers in the United States of America did not like that. They found it to be way too preachy in the same, and I understand that argument. Like those last three, those Star Wars movies, those were way too obvious with their political messaging. Like it's not even messaging anymore. Those movies were trying to say vote blue, pretty much. Those movies were like, there was like, and the last three Star Wars films of the Skywalker saga, we have pivoted to be an advertisement campaign for the Democratic Party. Anyway, I get it. I get people's hangups about Get Out. I mean, Get Out. That's another one. Look Up. But I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I really liked the little fucking dinosaur bird creatures at the end when they killed the fucking, I love that. I loved a lot of it. But to know that there's a comet coming, to know there's a meteor coming, that'd be ideal, right? To know that you have like a year or a month. Like imagine in 1 year, there's no avoiding it. If we knew that in 1 year, this planet is going to be physically annihilated. I think that's actually would probably be how we figure out how to either get off of here or to do something with consciousness where it doesn't require physicality, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, do you think we need a revival of 1960s counterculture movement?
It never went anywhere. It just ceased to be the it ceased to be the top 40. But that has always been, I mean, was more of a subculture in the 70s than it was the 60s, but not by much. But then I would say by 80s, the top 40 pop culture. And I do think it interests me, the question of how much of the bad that is going on in this country and the world is intentional by some behind the curtain Illuminati-esque forces and stuff like that. But I just really don't like to talk about it a lot. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's like, but the question does get interesting, especially when it can be made funny. Like the 1980s. In the 1980s in America, that's when it super shifted from all you need is love, or let me think of it from an American band of and turn, there is a season, turn, and fucking Jimi Hendrix and fucking all, and that like, and the Summer of Lovey sort of stuff. And then there would be a song that was actually like on the radio that was explicitly saying or alluding towards maybe we shouldn't have a nuclear exchange that ends the world, sort of thing like that. That doesn't happen so much now. There was that Gautier song that was kind of like, hey, watch out, let's not end the world, but that was more climate changey. That was on the radio. But anyway, there used to be songs on the radio that were saying maybe we shouldn't war. And now I can't imagine there being a top, at least they're definitely not like a top 10 like hit pop song in the US that's in any kind of deep way saying that sort of, how did you refer to it as? Oh, the culture of the 1960s, which is around before like Motown was happening. Now I love that music. Anyway, to answer that, it's the archaic revival that Terence McKenna spoke of is so the fuck happening. And it comes back to the individual. It always does, or to the the dyad. We are two humans speaking now, and I think it is best for I and you and us to pivot whenever we can towards not being like dishonestly optimistic, but there has to if you're not working on at least imagining a way that this could go well, then you're letting the potential for that slip away, and we are heading towards less good places than we would if we made an effort to figure out how to help, or at least how it could go well, sort of thing. So, and I think ton of people are doing that. And this is the thing that is exciting too. There is never in the history of this planet been so many people with their fingers on the buttons, because there didn't used to be buttons, buttons for shirts, but there wasn't like, there are people with the technological and social network and social circle and just influential, affluent. I know that there's ways to affect big things in this world without being influential and affluent. I do believe that. However, there are people with lots and lots of money, and lots of powerful friends, and their fingers on the levers and buttons, who are eating psychedelics often and effectively, and really bringing to bear how helpful these substances, these compounds, these experiences, because it's the the thing with the people who give up addictions or suddenly significantly spring out of depression, like people who no longer meet the criteria for PTSD, things like that. Those interesting little results of effective and intentional and there is the element of guidance, psychedelic. There are people who are bringing to bear the bounty of the plants and the stuff we make in labs, which, from what I understand, all of it does come from the natural world at some point. It's just you know how much you mix around and toggle and do your little chemistry stuff. But that's exciting, right? Like, we're not far from when I don't think we're far from the first and where there's more. We've already had the first, but no, not like out of the closet. To have politicians out of the closet that they use psychedelics to improve their capacity and performance in the ways of what's the best word? Because when you say philanthropy, people tend to think philanthropic billionaire who's mostly performative. So what's the word? What's the word for benevolence? Yeah. I'm increasing my capacity and my performance in benevolence, the musical, the festival, by taking these things that make me capable of things that are extremely difficult to do without them. I think that's coming.
Yeah,
That'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I mean by a revival of counterculture is, like you were mentioning, psychedelics could influence people to become more peaceful, and we might actually avoid some sort of dystopia if everyone realizes the potential of psychedelic medicine. Um, so if we are able to revive the counterculture movement of 1960s right now, I think it could, offer or attribute more peace, or more just like elevation of consciousness collectively towards peace, for everyone. So that is something that could happen. And that is why I say maybe a revival of counterculture could actually benefit society right now, because there's not a lot of restriction or discrimination against psychedelics at the moment. I mean, people are becoming more and more aware. There's no Nixon sitting in the president's office to be like, okay, no more drugs and like war on drugs. Like, people are becoming more and more benevolent towards psychedelics, and what they have to offer, or just like what do any kind of medicine or drug has to offer. So if we're able to do that, and I think I truly believe that we are in a second psychedelic renaissance, that we are currently under that, and I just hope that people realize the benefits, and people realize the amount of amazing, beautiful things that can happen from this renaissance, and we can effectively avoid a lot of dystopic happenings that can happen with us, to us in future. So yeah, I hope a revival of counterculture does something good. For us, we go back to what happened in 1960s. We do the same thing in 2022, like whatever, like now 21st century, and we see how things have changed.
Hugely. There's the one thing that just popped into my mind about difference between 1960s counterculture, psychedelic renaissance, or archaic revival sort of stuff, is that now when I think of the individuals that I have personally met who use psychedelics, who manipulate their neurochemistry to do really interesting things, learn stuff that seems like on the cutting edge of human consciousness, and just like folks who are utilizing these tools, sometimes overshooting it. Everybody, you got to figure out what that is. But I know I have met some people who are like really using these things to optimize their impact. and they're and from my perspective, there is great utility in not being observed. There are people who just straight up will be offended by my saying this, but if you that by not being observed as a freak, and in the 60s, most people, the majority looked at, even though it was super popular, the majority, from what I understand of that era, was like, you long-haired hippie freak, and like, and it was very easy to dismiss, in the same way, like in the US, I'm sure it's in other places, but in the US, we have a very, very, very funny band of, and I think that they say some and do some impactful stuff, but there's the Church of Satan, who are real. They're just, I observe them as just trying to make a point about, like, well, if you can get like all these tax incentives with your religion, it's like, okay, we got a religion too. It's like, do we get the same treatment? It's like, well, that's hypocrisy. That's one of the things that they do, and but they're not. But a lot of the Church of Satan people that I've like brushed elbows with, and like they're joking. They're making a meaningful joke. They're trying to make a statement, but they don't believe that. I have not met a person yet who actually thinks that there is like Satan, Baphomet, like these things. They think of them as archetypes. They're essentially they're riffing on what religion is. But okay. Anyway, I've always seen them when I was like, God, man, that's like there are people who would see this as an affront to them personally themselves. But it's like, I always like, when I'm faced with that and the consideration of that, I'm always like, man, you're asking for a dismissal. Like, you're so smart. Like, there's these individuals, and like, and same thing with the hippy dippy stuff. It's like, there's some people who are like, you're so smart. And it's just it's a shame that there's any pressure for you to even visually assimilate, let alone to augment your message to make more sense. Like, I really hate it that people feel pressured to translate their soul to the really low resolution gaze of the masses. It is upsetting, but sometimes I see somebody and it's like, and I'm one of them. I'm totally one of them still. Totally one of them. I used to be more so like, clearly it's more important to you to be expressing your authentic self than to figure out how to have the most impact. I have been so my even aspirations of impact of the last several years have went to, man, there's been a good amount of months where it's like, I am only trying to figure out how to get this to at least not be writhing around in misery. But there was a time where, man, I wanted to move the needle, and the way I'm speaking now, apparently that's rising up in me again. I would like to be, helpful, but you get what I'm saying about, like, when you just like how much the people, the hippies of the 60s were largely dismissed by the masses because you hippy dippy freaky, like, you're being too idealistic. But now, really positive thing that's happening is that I see so many people, Rick Doblin being a shining example of this. Like, he's like, all right, obviously there's a lot of terrible, like, just super unjust and tragic, and the hypocrisies are abound with our system. But what would be good? If some people had the patience and wherewithal, and really made the effort to figure out how to move these levers so that we can change laws. And it's working. They're changing laws, and they had to go through crazy hoops. They're going through crazy hoops right now. They needed to go hard with this helps veterans in America in order to get they needed to have that angle. And it's not just an angle. It's fucking, there's so much truth and sincerity to that. But the imaging of, look, this is helping our wounded and mentally wounded soldiers. Like, you can't deny it. People are like essentially curing their PTSD. They're not meeting the criteria anymore after one or a few sessions. Like, I'm so glad they made that effort. I hope I made that point in a way that makes sense. Hippies of the 60s, easily dismissed because they're, because they could be for just being you long-haired hippy dippy freaks. And now today there's a lot of people who are, to not mince words, putting on a collared shirt and getting their sideburns lined up to go to a podium and be like, hey, we're here to change some laws.
I mean, I feel like there is so much potential of the psychedelic culture bringing peace towards the situation that we're in right now. Like, democracy has been in crisis for some time. Um, I feel like it's a system which is very effective if it's used correctly, but I don't think it's been implemented correctly in most of the democratic countries. And we need a system where a political system which affects socioeconomic regions as well of our society. We need an effective system, and maybe it's time that we start creating newer system, or at least looking at what could be a new system that can replace democracy and can elevate so many tensions that we face. Because even though democracy is good for capitalism and um, just like equal rights and stuff like that, it's not doing anything with the polarization that we're facing at the moment. The crazy polarization on the internet, the crazy polarization in terms of politics, even economy. Like, there's rich people, and then there's poor people. Like, there's no consistent middle class people left anymore. And I think a good example of that is in Russia. In Russia, you see a lot of a lot of rich people, and then a lot of low people. There's effectively no middle class.
The
So
oligarchs.
yeah, so if we're able to do something with our own creative minds or human curiosity, and come up with new political systems, maybe we can avoid a lot of these tensions that might come, like any kind of transhumanistic, dystopic, um, I don't know, like transhumanistic dystopic
Black
situation that was.
Just say black mirrory shit.
Yeah, we can avoid that.
Yeah, there's gonna be patches. There's gonna be patches because there's already patches, And I'm not gonna go down this thread, but I've been thinking a lot about how, because I saw a robot the other day that I was like, all right, it has arrived. If so,
Mhm.
it has arrived, because if I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, and my mind goes to sex first, and then if down it's or pushed away, it's like, now I can think of other things, like one could be my friend, could be my, but that's like that my and I consider myself to be a fairly a considerably ethical person, but I exist in this creature, and I saw a robot and I immediately thought, whoa, it has arrived. How is this going to affect the way we relate to each other? Because that say no more. That's a whole other podcast. But anyway, there's going to be people. There's going to be people in the same way. Have you witnessed some of the video game addiction, like what it really fully does? And we've had a conversation about this before, that it's like there's I don't want to judge, and that joy is joy, so it's good joy, and I applaud joy. But like, the situation where your reward system is entirely fixated on this really easy access point to the feeling of having won, like having achieved something, like when that really takes over not just sexuality but romance, it's going to get interesting. And there's going to be individuals and statistics of people who completely, entirely withdraw from even aspiring to relate with another human being. Because although it has been said, and I think that it is beautiful and true, that the greatest form of art is to love another person, it is also somewhat rather very sometimes excruciatingly difficult to tolerate, let alone learn to coexist and love and accept every aspect of another entire human being. And I say this with being a admitted lovophile. Like I love and love to love, but it's not as easy as ordering a box that arrives. And there's a Black Mirror episode of this that comes to mind with the dead boyfriend, one of having a cyborg wetware android of one's deceased, or was it husband? Did they get married? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like when you take all of the text, they take all of the text exchanges and so much recordings of his voice, and you could have a thing that looks and sounds and maybe even smells and tastes and feels like a person that you loved who died, or a person that this is where it's going to get really interesting, a person who you have observed enough, or on the scary end of it, have collected texts and video and audio of, and you will be able to generate the physical wetware android of someone that you just decided that you desire. The parts about that are just so creepy. Like I feel like I can't talk about it without doing this motion with my fingers and crunching my face up. It's so fucking just like, God, I can't help but judge the fuck out of that. But also on the positive note, it would be way better for somebody to have a wetware android than to go, as we say, postal, or to stalk someone, to be, like we can take a lot of our creeps out of the game and just make them in this closed loop of their own fucking creepiness and fucking and narcissism and fucking like this world is full of pockets of shit that I don't want to go near. And then there's pockets of things where it's like, okay, that's fucked up, but you're not breaking any laws. I don't want there to be a law for what you're doing, because you are just like doing what fucking, like tickles your jollies sort of things. And then there's stuff going on in pockets of the world where, man, if I had the thing where I had the power to order big, tough, well-armed people or fucking violent robots to like human trafficking and something like that, I would eradicate that entire enterprise if I had the ability to. It would be hard to even take the time to strategize, to be honest. If it's like, to give that hypothetical, if I had the hard power to stop all of that, I might be like, we have 3 hours to strategize how to make this happen in the smoothest way with the least even potential for I forgot this very easy military terminology of when you kill people you weren't intending to kill, collateral damage. I might just be like, we need to stop it, the fuck sap, so send the drones, like there's some shit like that. And it's like, and I can't, I don't know if this is why I'm not going to trying to be elite. I don't have patience in that regard. We need to fucking end all coercion and all captivity. The fuck sap. The fuck sap. And this is what makes it so it's hard for me to be hippie dippy cloud flower idealistic, because I've become aware of some things in this world that are absolutely physically happening that must be stopped. And if hard power is the only way, then fuck. All right. Damn it. That, so saying like, and I say things all the time, like every human being has, and I've changed this, and I'll stop talking. This has been a very long tangent. Every human has the potential to move towards the ideal and values that are becoming more universal. I love the word kindness. I think that the capacity for kindness exists in every newborn baby human. And some people just have such a snowball rolling of malice and their own pain that they can't help but, you know, splay onto this world. But fuck, do you think that there's even an answer to, are humans inherently good or bad? Sort of question. Is that a stupid question, or do you think that it has an answer?
I think it's a question which can have multiple answers.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a question, that's an inquiry into what ethics is, what morality is. Like, ethics being more of a communal thing, and morality being more of a personal thing. So we're trying to identify whether human civilization, at its best, is it good or is it bad. Then it definitely points out that we need to do an inquiry into what human actions are, and are human actions inherently good or bad, or and then that leads us to an inquiry into intentionality, whether humans have an intent of being good or bad. So it's almost as if we have to draw a sketch between what is intentionality and how does intentionality function within ethics and morality, and what are the ethics and morality. And morality is more of an individualistic thing, so we need to concentrate more on what ethics are, and what kind of ethical code do humans follow, and are all of these ethical codes good or bad. Like, are these ethics just or they're unjust? Then, all of this platonic republic kind of thing comes in. But it's a question that anyone would ask, so it's not a stupid question.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a question that I'm putting any caloric uh, expense towards anymore. I don't want my like computation time or energy. And I think about dumb shit. I'm such a human, man. I'm such a human. I spent weeks thinking about exchange recently. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And but if I'm going to think about meaningful things, and when, like, like right now, like, we're I regard when we do these, hey, do you want to do a podcast, and then we go live and then we talk for an hour, and sometimes there's this excruciating ping that fucking terrifies me, and I'm worried that it might happen again. But anyway, that we're like we're practicing and building the muscle memory of what it is to converse in a way that is not only stimulating for both of us and enjoyable, but that is trackable to multiple minds who might listen in. And there's different forums, right? Like, you have conversations, and I've listened to your conversations with someone like Yosha, who I don't think, if I were to attempt to talk to him, it would be like, it would be when I would try, when it was my turn to talk, it would, I think I would probably like recede in my ability to maybe to point at anything nearing the level of complexity and learnedness that guy is. When I listened to your two's conversation, I was like, man, I understand most, maybe all of these words. There's not many terms being said that I don't understand, but I can't follow because I just don't know enough about what you're talking about. I can't follow, but I know that it's smart. And that, I know what that concept is. I know that I'm in the presence of a really intelligent conversation, but I'm not following. So I try in some situations, I literally have a turtle puppet, and I'm speaking as not verbosely as I can and trying to make things really understandable. And then when I talk to you, it's like I know that I can fly off the handle with like abstractions, and verbosity is welcome and all that. But that, like, like the forum and container of you and I talking is very different from, I just spoke with a friend the other day who does energy healing stuff and things, and I don't understand I don't understand that. And I also know that I don't want to spend all of my time when I'm talking to someone who does, because I do think that there is an application to these things that I don't understand. I don't even understand what I mean when I say spiritual these days. But I don't want to spend all my time when I'm talking to somebody who believes in things that I think can be practiced to great effect for personal and perhaps collective wellness sort of stuff. I don't want to spend all my time arguing with somebody or trying to get them to help me understand things that I don't understand. In the same way with the big time like supercomputer intelligence, like some of these humans, man, are speaking in jargon that I don't grasp yet, and I sometimes even think, could I? Is my physical brain capable of understanding some of these artificial intelligence conversations and things and stuff? Anyway, what I'm saying is, I feel like we're working on the muscle to be able to have interesting and enjoyable conversations that are also understandable to who we wish them to be understandable to. But I personally have a value and an axiom to widen that as much as I can. I would like to be understandable to as many people as I can. Though I fail often because I'm weird as fuck.
I mean, the things that we talked about today are these are the questions that people would think about every day. Like, these are some important questions that people are actively thinking about every day.
There's some people, yeah. I have this job where I encounter a lot of different. Ooh, Jesus Christ! Oh, God damn it! That's not that. All right.
I swear to God, like, I have my iMessages quite, like, it's not open, but for some reason, whenever I get a message on my iMessage, not only does it come on here, but it also comes on my iPad and also comes on my laptop. And it's fucking irritating because I hear three buzz noises, like this notification noise. I heard it on this. I heard it on my computer, and then I heard it on my iPad as well. Fucking irritating.
It's funny
They
that
say that Mac is supposed to make your life easier. Well, it's not.
it does something. I mean, it presents you with, and that's the crux of the situation that we're in with technology and the approaching or perhaps already arrived at Ashketon that was foretold. I struggle to keep I want to not have my phone near my bed. I want that to be a hard rule. That fucking rectangle does not approach the place where I sleep. Yeah. And I fucking sin in that way often. And then there's the thing of, I want this alarm to wake me up, but I don't want to have the terrible experience of the alarm waking me up and being so far away from me that I don't remember where I put it. And now I got to walk or crawl to it to make it stop waking me up. You've woken me up. Now you're just hurting me, like, so anyway, I wouldn't say that technology is ruining my life, but social networks, like, I do find, and I wish so much that someone could hard delete my Instagram and Facebook and maybe even YouTube and everything. I would the opportunity to have that just done upon me, so I wouldn't have to feel guilty myself or have others be like, Zach, why'd you do that? Because I've deleted a lot of my own stuff from the internet. It's a weird thing about me. I'm very would this be being very collie about it? I'd like to destroy the past of my own works. I like to destroy things that I've done. And because I love the new, right? I love the blank slate. So to have, like, let's say there be a cyber attack from some one of these countries that don't like America so much, where effectively my, and maybe everyone's Instagrams and Facebooks and YouTubes and everything is entirely erased. Oh my God, the relief that I would feel. Also, though, I would feel negative about it sometimes too. And this is a weird thing about me. I'm so or maybe this isn't a weird thing. Maybe this is healthy. I like I said, I wouldn't say the technology is ruining my life, but social network and my social life is what also, I mean, this is stupid my even saying this, because here we're talking, our friendship is the result of Clubhouse and the internet. But the thing is, now I have friends. Now I have some friends that I really love a bunch, and they're in different places. And it would be all right. It would be healthy to stop forming so many new dendritic connections amongst human beings, because because the social network thing makes it so I'm not able to keep track of my social life in a way that if it were to be like, all right, even if it were to just, cut off now, it's like, okay, it's like, write down who you want to, be in your life and only communicate with them. Like that, it might be an overwhelming amount already. This is a very high quality problem. I'm very, very grateful for this. But the social network of like the newness keep coming in, and the past being observable. I hate my past being observable. I'm told that it helps for me to have videos of me talking when I was way dumber than I am now. And this video, I will feel that way about it in a month or so. But so I guess what I'm getting at, I'll put it positively. I'll stop talking next, because I am being a whiny little negative Nancy. I'm bitching about the things that talk about it. But okay, to put it positively, oh, how lovely it would be to just be a person. And there's some people who know me, and they remember how I acted in January of 2014 or April 26th of 2022. They remember, but they don't have a receipt, and I remember how they were to me on this day or this day and this day, and the way they acted, and the way they wore their hair and their shoes and and maybe they made a video of themselves saying what they think about a certain conflict or political issue, or their cat, how they feel about their cat. But I'm not constantly refreshing the past of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just showing up and existing together as people used to. I crave that. I would love to experience a year where my life is purely IRL. That would be amazing. But I am told, and I also observe, that would not be good for my progressing towards this personal crescendo of attention that I don't want. Most of it I don't want. I want the positive aspects of what a lot of attention would be, but I also want to be left the fuck alone in a way that is pure and complete, where I'm just a person. Anyway, do you have any back and forth about that, or because you use the internet, I've noticed.
What?
That's funny.
What do you mean back and forth on what exactly?
I'm being perceived, and having these digital receipts for what you said months or years ago, or that whole thing. Is it purely positive to you, or is there moments where it's like, shit, man, I wish this, I don't know, or more so the problem of how much to use it, how much to think about it, how much to consider an internet presence?
I don't think an internet presence is really needed, but like, I have friends, by the way, who are completely off social media. They don't use social media. They have no use of social media. They do have internet, and they're like searching and doing things on the internet, but they're not using any of these social apps. And I wonder how, because like in this world, like today, we have to have a LinkedIn, right? If you're trying to be professional or whatever. Like if someone wants to see my resume and stuff like that, we need to have LinkedIn profiles and whatnot. Or you need to at least have a Twitter account or some shit like that. And so having an internet presence now effectively means, are you present on a social media platform or not? And because social media is becoming so polarized, and there's so many things happening within social media, it's good to question whether an internet presence, um, I swear to God, I am getting notifications. I'm so sorry. I swear to God, all of my, like, if I were to send you a screenshot, like, all of my mail is closed, my Discord is closed, my iMessages are closed, but for some fucking reason, I'm getting my notifications. It is,
Making the point that I was making is like, is it like that the negative aspects of it are deeply annoying.
yeah, like, so this is the thing. Like, even if you're trying to actively avoid social media, you're still getting social media notifications. It's fucking nuts.
So those people that you know who don't social network, who don't have a Twitter or a Instagram, Facebook, or anything like that, I feel like I can feel it in someone's presence sometimes. And it's like, how do you observe them to be? Do you feel like they're living? There's some things in their experience that are of a higher resolution, or you know what I'm saying? Is there something? Does it seem like it might be beautiful?
I think it is beautiful. I think if you're able to maintain a presence outside of social media and not be on social media, I think it is beautiful, because you're paying more attention to your external immediate environment, and things that you should be paying attention to, your family and actual meaningful friendships, without having any kind of artificial filter. Swear to fucking God. But yeah, I think it makes all the sense that, if you do have a social media presence, there's certain extent of um, filtering and fakeness. I swear to
Fucking
fucking.
shit. You know, and that you're having a USB mic would circumvent this, by the way. That's because it's your computer mic. It's really, it hurts. It hurts.
I don't know why. This is so frustrating, because I have everything closed. Like, this is the thing. Like, even if you leave social media never leaves you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about, if you leave social media never leaves you?
Um, this is a very difficult decision for me, and it's happening now. And I swear to God, sometimes I think I could fall in love with someone who doesn't want to be on the internet at all, and doesn't want the person that they're so intimately connected with to be distracted and preoccupied, or even occupied at all, by the internet. And I might say and feel great about it. All right. In fact, fuck yeah. I'm going to delete it all, and we're just going to hang out until we don't want to hang out. Or, you know, some people idealize this till death do we part, but I personally don't. I love the idea of, I romanticize relationships with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But I can't, I am a human being. I can't be alone and all right for huge swaths of time. Or it's weird. It's unpredictable. But the 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 um the illusion, or the supplement of togetherness that I have access to with this thing that is more often than not in my pocket fucks me up, but also does deliver these little micro doses of what a conversation or a hug or snuggles while absorbing cinema is so much of a cleaner signal of. Like, this is not even, I wouldn't even call it a watered down emulation. This is a fucking, this is, has brought so much beauty and true connection into my life, but it's also a problem. I just, anyway, the difficulty of the decision of, do I lean in entirely? Like, I'm right now, I'm planning to make videos with people and put myself way the fuck more out there. And then ideally what I would do, like if I had a thing go significantly viral that I felt really strongly about, a music video of a song, of one of these songs that I've recently created, that fucking, if that there were a audio visual experience, a YouTube video, and it were to be like, ideally what I would do if that were happening is then I would be like, negotiating with whoever. I would set up a person who is the person who is supposed to figure out how to get it so that I can perform in person as much as possible. And I would negotiate with them, what is the least amount of internet presence for me as a person that I can have without you're getting mad at me because you benefit from our signal boosting. May I please delete my Instagram, Facebook, fucking all these, and just be this thing that comes out of its shell to perform and make, works of art. And I would like to continue podcasting, but I don't want to be on social networks in my, certainly not like, I don't know, my 40s. I don't know. I see where this is going and I wish to go no further. But everybody says you gotta, and there's really cool things about it. I fucking put some things on Instagram recently that made me feel very, I got responses of like that was helpful, and I felt understood, and this helpful thought was communicated. And I love humor. I love the idea of making people laugh, but what I don't want much of in the future, or let me put it positively. We're thinking about this app. And we're going to have to end this in 15 minutes. But we're thinking about this app. I'd like you to think about this. I might have presented it to you before. That making an app that is Reality the Musical, the festival, that would ideally become a one-stop shop with the exception of LinkedIn, where people like myself who want connection and community, but hate being in the mucky, murky, and sometimes even malicious and murderous waters of propaganda and commercialism, and like everything that you do when you go on Instagram and Facebook, like you are in a market that is also a war zone, that is also hilarious, that is also a community, that is also a factory of neurosis and joy and everything, but we could have Reality Musical, the festival, the social network, the app that is for someone like, precisely like myself, who I have decided I want to spend not just most, as close to all of my life as possible, IRL, in reality. And in physical reality. I'm not saying I want to dabble in some virtual stuff. And I'm about to meet up with a friend soon for my inaugural like deep dive into VR. And I'm excited for that. Maybe I love it a lot, but I know that I want to be a monkey. I want to be a monkey. I want to be I want to be a fucking primate. I want to be fucking a talking primate consciousness creature. And when I'm elderly and my body begins to wither, or when it significantly withers, or I'm about to die, I'm one who's like, yeah, man, if other people are saying that it's dope, and fuck yeah, put my fucking consciousness into the cloud. Let's kick the tires, spin it around the block. Let's see what fucking digital godhood is like. But right now, I want to be a human. I want to be a fucking wetware creature, a good old-fashioned analog talking monkey with my friends, and the rectangle in my pocket that is no way around. I would like it to be able to help me. The Reality Musical, the festival, the app would be all about. It's a tool to help you get together with people and ideas, but mainly gatherings of people who are on the same vibe as you, wanting to do the same shit. It would help you get together, yeah. As opposed to help you be able to feel together from afar, which is great because there's but I think that we're getting really close to we're getting better. Do you know about the cutting edge of transportation? We're getting close to something.
Exactly what about transportation?
Are we getting close to figuring out something better than burning fuel to make tubes go fast in the air? Are we getting close to something where it might be a little bit easier to come to like Detroit or India or fucking Africa or China or fucking, or, figuring that out? We getting close.
I mean, God damn it. I don't think so. I mean, I think the airway is the closest way of having some sort of a transportation system. Um, Although I do know that human curiosity is too good when it comes to making newer and newer options. So, yeah. I mean, what do you think? Like, do you think we have more mechanisms of making newer ways of transportation that are more creative and more efficient than what we have at the moment?
I am not only not a scientist, I have mostly withdrawn from even attempting to think smarty pants thoughts in terms of engineering for all my life. You could ask me at age 10, like, what's going on with that physically and I would be like, I don't know. And I don't think I'm the person who should be asked that question. But it occurs to me that the thing that the Musk man was doing with the and China's got some super fast subterranean railways, right? Like that seems like that could be improved upon, right? And that could be something that, but it's like, do we want there to be a tube that goes under or through the oceans? Do we want that? Maybe we do. Maybe we could do that super safely for the whales and the dolphins and the jellyfish. Though I've heard there's 1 or 12 too many jellyfish right now. And man wars and squids and stuff, but mainly I've heard people talking about these problematic jellyfish. But anyway, maybe they're like, maybe there being a tube that goes around the world and makes little stops that goes way, way fast. But then I don't know the science of like when it starts getting to the point where we're fucking people up by getting them going too fast. And I think that there's it's the trial and error period of doing any sort of teleportation thing sounds, yeah, it really just occurs to me that we're going to, but I don't want to be about this because it's going to be so amazing. That's so cool. Like if we can put a little thing on our temple, like in Black Mirror, and have the very, very realistic, very, very like neurochemically almost identical experience of hanging out with friends on the other side of the world. I think that's probably coming sooner, maybe, but I base this on very little. Other than that, yeah, it's just like we're just going to get better at doing airplanes. But dude, the shit we're doing right now with the airplanes, dude, it's just like there's so much that we're doing right now that it's just like they built the stuff. They got the money to build the stuff. They built the stuff. And now they're like, all right, before we disassemble that stuff to make better stuff, or I think that the sinister thing is that there does seem to be an element, obviously, of, all right, before we even allow the new technology to come and replace what these folks are making a killing and killing, like they're making a killing and it's killing people and they're killing people, that they're putting the kibosh on the surfacing of new technology that would be way better than burning stuff to make little tubes in the air go fast. Like these planes, man. Like these passenger planes. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing, and I'm very, very grateful for it. But sometimes you're in one and you're like, it's the year 2022, and this fucking thing is severely antiquated in my observation. As a layman, I can look around and be like, this is fucking. But then again, how much did I pay for this flight to Denver or California? $80, you know, so, you know, Maybe it's just that I'm a pauper, and as long as I remain a street rat, I don't buy that. I'm gonna have the Spirit Airlines sucks. It sucks. And these tubes that you fly in. But then again, I want to be grateful for the technology that it exists that my grandparents did not have, or as for their entire lives. Yeah, I hope we figure that out, because I would feel a lot different about the internet. Oh my God, I would feel a lot different about the internet if I could, because it is frustrating it's beautiful and it's frustrating to have so much of my mind and relations being mental, having to remain in the dimensions of words and two-dimensional imagery and voices. There are more dimensions. I'd like to, go for a walk and stuff. And often it's like, am I going for less walks with people who live 30 or 1 mile from me because of how much, these are questions.
But what about the metaverse, right? Like, we're talking about transportation, but if we have a metaverse, right, and which we will have and which we already do have, um, then if we have a cybernetic identity, cybernetic extension of our own physical reality, then it means that I can travel X amount of miles, virtually speaking. So, yeah, a new form of transportation is then us having an extension of ourselves, which is virtual, which can travel X amount of, like, you can go to Paris or like a virtual Paris in like 2 seconds because we are, in an altered reality. So, what do you think about the metaverse then?
I'm going to go back to the narrow slice of reality thing that Coleman Hughes and Richard Dawkins were talking about, which I think I'm going to listen to that podcast, the fuck sap, because I'm very interested in the question of, we're biologically, as creatures, we're supposed to survive a narrow slice of reality. That's what this body and a lot of the functionality of this brain is geared towards, figuring out how to not die in a narrow slice of a physical world, and a narrow slice of consciousness and a mentalist landscape. So as we expand the metaverses, and as some of us experiment with living more fully in metaverses and augmented and virtual realities, we're going to fuck around and find out. And but what I can be genuinely, authentically optimistic about when somebody says that it's all fucked and it's all gonna be fucked, is that I don't think it's gonna be all fucked. I think that there's going to be fucked up experiments. And I'm not just talking about like experiments in labs. I think there's going to be people who are going to find out, like what we know about video game addiction and porn addiction and fucking phone social media addiction, and which so many of us meet the criteria for. We are addicted to these neurochemical payoffs that I feel are a watered down emulation of, but still, I love the connectivity. I love the friend. When I'm saying all this negative stuff about my experience with social network, I fucking am so ecstatic about the friendships that I have with people that I have yet to be in the physical presence of. I'm like, that's great. And so it formed these meetings. There's so much good about it. It's just, I am a human being, and I am admittedly a highly discerning one in a lot of ways, and in other ways not so much. But anyway, the metaverses are worlds that are growing, that their effect on the world that I call reality, the musical, the festival, and the world of the natural world, as we say, though what the fuck does that mean? because we're natural, and so all our technology is organically occurring, by my definition at least. Is there being these pockets of cybernetic existence, or even just now with the metaverses? Is that marinara sauce going to inevitably spill into my mashed potatoes and fuck up my reality? Maybe not for a while, but maybe suddenly and exponentially, and that's what people are worried about. And I have no, and the only thing that I can think to make that less likely is just put more kindness, or even just to use a less difficult word, just because kindness is a difficult word. There, people have different definitions of that. But just conscientiousness, consideration. Hey, let's not fuck up what we have in the attempts to race to getting to something, super the breakthroughs that we want. And then back to the military, we got to stop warring as soon as possible. and that is an enterprise of getting more people to be incapable of the act of neglect, let alone slaughter of other human beings. And I think that one of the paths to that is that of the psychedelic renaissance. But I know that not everybody's gonna drink from that trough for a while. So I am many of us are admittedly in a point of frustration and a bit of worry. But to end, I will end on saying we just need to put more fucking kindness and consideration and love into the world, and then maybe things won't be as fucked, or maybe we'll actually figure some things out, because the good, the positive, or perhaps even, utopia is, because once we achieve what we think is utopia now, we're going to come up with new problems. We're problem factories. But the really optimal things that could happen could also be exponential. A technology could be invented tomorrow. There could be people sitting on it right now, ready to not just like roll out and getting the marketing campaign together, but perhaps even like unleash, in the same way that some would say Satoshi, the crypto technology, Bitcoin, that perhaps there was this really benevolent individual or group who was like, let's at least stir the pot. There could be people in groups who are ready to unleash something so positive technologically onto the landscape of this species that might eradicate drudgery, is the big thing that I go toward, to make it so we don't have to, so that human beings aren't spending all of their time fucking struggling to survive, and instead can think about things like solving our existential problems, or perhaps having the happiest reality possible. What do you
And
think
I
about
would
that?
agree to all of that. And yeah, I wish people the same and reality the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's fun talking to you today.
Yeah, it's always fun talking to you.
All right. Well, happy reality, Sanj, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
Yeah, it's what time is it? It's 9:16 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. It is just about noon here, and I'm going to order some food and try to have a beautiful day. It's my sister's birthday. I'm excited about that. All right. Happy reality to you
You too.
and to all. Kaboom.